Well, hello everybody, welcome back to our channel. In today's video I want to talk a little bit about the problems you might have when you live full-time in a caravan. It's not always fun and games, and we are currently having a big problem, or a few big problems, with a leaky caravan. We're traveling around in our Jayco Journey Outback, and we had this caravan for 2 years now. The caravan itself is about 4 years old. It was built in 2020, now it's 2024. We haven't had any problems so far, but suddenly we've been getting a couple of leaks at the same time. And on top of that, our ute started leaking as well. So it doesn't look like it today. Beautiful weather, but we had some real hardcore rain in the last couple of days, and yeah, it just started leaking like a sieve. If you are interested in, camping, fishing, caravanning, living full-time on the road, then maybe this video will give you a few tips and tricks on how to deal with this kind of situation, because having leaks can be quite nerve-wracking when you're on the road and the water's coming in, especially in a caravan. Now you might think Jayco Caravans, they might have a little bit of a reputation for, not having the best quality, but leaky caravans is a big issue. Like pretty much anyone you talk to who's got a caravan and who's using it a lot, and when the caravan gets a bit older, they have issues with leaks. And the problem with those caravans and also motorhomes is that they are built to be super lightweight. So everything is really flimsy, even if they look like a bit of an outdoor, outback, off-road caravan, they're still built of really light materials. The walls, they're usually sandwiched walls, and there's a bit of an insulation layer, some styrofoam in the middle between two plywood panels. And when water gets into the walls or the roof, and the plywood gets soggy with water, it starts rotting really quick, and then you get a huge problem, right? We have been traveling for 10 years already, and initially we used to have a bus, and a bus of course is metal, so there is no rotting in there, so that was really good. We had leaks in our bus as well that we had to deal with, but we did not have to worry about rotting plywood, because this is a huge cost when you get like a whole panel starting to rot, or the water seeps down and you get your floor rotting or corners rotting. Now the good thing with the Jayco is it has a aluminum framing, at least on the side walls. So some of the other caravans that are made completely out of wood, they have a wooden frame, and when the water seeps into the side walls and it gets into the frame, then the frame might start rotting and becomes unstable as well. We don't have that problem, so an aluminum frame is actually quite good to have in a caravan to avoid like structural damage. Although I recently found out that the aluminum frame here on these caravans is only around the sides, but the ceiling still has a wooden frame. So yeah, not so sure about that. Why did they not put aluminum on the roof as well? Maybe because the water's seeping down and it's not affecting it so much. I don't know, but I wish they would have aluminum frames all around. Now, aluminum frame also has a downside. It can develop stress cracks. Yeah, that is also not so good if that happens. So especially when you go over really bumpy roads and stuff like that. But I think this driving around with a caravan a lot and using it for full-time travel and using it all the time, those caravans and motorhomes aren't really built for that kind of purpose. They're built for having them for your holidays, maybe using them twice per year or something for a short time, drive to your spot and leave them there, even if they look really rugged and stuff like that. And I think using it for full-time travel degrades them a lot faster, because you're driving, every couple of days over bumpy roads and then everything is shaking. Yeah, the problem with these caravans, like I said, it's very flimsy and everything is just held together with like small staplers and screws. And then of course between all the panels you just got sealant strips, and from all the vibrations and stuff over age the sealant becomes a little bit brittle. You get little tiny cracks in the sealant, and when it rains the water can seep into that, right into the wood, and you don't even notice it in a Caravan because, like I said, those sandwich panels, it will get in there. On the inside you got laminate, on the outside you got laminate, so you don't even notice if it's wet inside, and you'll only see it once it's too late. Once the laminate starts peeling off inside or outside, then you know there is water damage in there, but by that time the wood has rotten already. So yeah, so that's a little bit of a problem. But there are ways around it, right? There are ways to prevent this, and that's what we're going to be looking at now. But first I want to show you the problems we've been having just recently. Everything popped up at the same time after some heavy rain. So let's walk around and have a look at it. Alright, so the first problem we had was our grab handle here. It's loose right now because I already pulled it out. But I noticed after some rain, I always noticed a little bit of brown water coming out here at the bottom. Some brown water stains. And then on the inside we have also noticed, well, Heshe noticed, now you can see there's a big hole here. But before that, we noticed that there was a little bit of peeling and bubbles on that laminate on the inside. Some delamination here. So Haitian noticed that, and yeah, I noticed the brown water coming out. So I then undid the screws and I pulled this grab handle out. It was glued in a little bit, so I used some fishing line around here to get off that sealant, and I pulled the handle out. Okay, here's one quick tip on for how you can get those fixtures off your Caravan, because they're all like sort of glued on with this mastic or with a sealant, and sometimes they just don't come off when you take off the screws. So you can get yourself some braided fishing line. This is you want to get like pretty strong braided line, like this is 80 pound, and wear some gloves because it can cut into your fingers. You take a piece like this, and then you can get that in between your fixture, and then you can slowly cut away, chip away on that sealant around here, like so. And if there's some sealant left, it will cut right through the sealant, and then afterwards you can pull your fixture off. So a little bit of braided fishing line. Braid works better than nylon because it has a little bit more abrasion, so it will just cut through that better. It won't last long, so you have to use it for a while, then you have to cut off the next piece while it was break. You might be able to use some wire as well, some really thin wire. Might last a bit longer, but I use braided fishing line. And then I had a look inside here, the whole frame inside. So there's like sort of a reinforced plywood frame that sits around here. This is the inside wall, the inside plywood wall. Then there's this frame, and usually there's just this kind of sandwich panel here where you got this styrofoam insulation. But the whole bottom part, as you can see here, I scraped that all out from that frame. That was all soggy and rotten plywood. And it extended all the way to the inside. So I just scraped off the laminate, and then I started to peel that all out here, all the rotten plywood. So we got a big gaping hole here now. And we also got a gaping hole here now. Now I let it all dry, and it's ready to be fixed. Okay, now let's have a look at the second issue we've been having, and that is on the inside. It happened a few days after I found this issue, and look at our roof here. So I noticed some delamination here on the roof as well, and by now you can see I scraped off all this brittle laminate. It was like getting really brittle and lots of cracks in here, so I used a bit of a scraper and scraped that all off. And underneath, this was all soggy wet here. Luckily it didn't cause any damage. I noticed that before. And it extends all the way to the inside here. At the moment I'm having a fan running here, a little USB fan, and some Demprit. And you can see the Demprit container is now full with water. It's been running for a couple of days, so it's pretty much dry now. Have a look inside here. So I scraped up all the laminate here as well, and I drilled a couple holes into the ceiling, some bigger holes, just so that there's some airflow in here, because there was no airflow before. And I took off the cover where that cable comes out. That is the cable that just feeds into these power sockets that we have here. So we got a cable that feeds into this power socket, and that comes from the roof. And the water kept running down this cable here, and that's how we noticed it, besides the cracking. So there was some brown water stains here, and this was all cracked, all the laminate. I drilled these holes in there, and I could push my finger in there. I could feel the wet. So there's some glass fiber wool in here for insulation, so I could feel that was all soggy wet when I stuck my finger in there. It's all dry now, and we haven't got any damage. After talking to a fellow traveler, he recommended to also take off those lights here, which I did, to give it a bit more airflow, to make it dry a little bit more easy. So I undid all the lights here. That's pretty easy to do, to have airflow through the roof. And yeah, this way we managed to get the roof dry, and we don't have any damage besides this ugly delamination. And I'm actually not so sure how I'm gonna fix that to make it look like it looked before. Is that even possible? I can paint it white probably, but then you'll see this cracked line there. So I haven't figured out how to make it look nice again. But yeah, the first thing, of course, was, after finding this issue and drying out the roof, is finding the actual source of this leak. So I'm just going to take you up on the roof, and I show you quickly what was the problem there. Now, one tool that's been invaluable here has been this telescopic ladder. It's been really good for getting onto the roof of the Caravan and our previous motorhome. So we can just expand this. And now we got a nice ladder to climb up onto our roof and to have a look. It is very handy if you need to do some maintenance on the road and you got yourself this kind of ladder. So initially I was a bit reluctant buying it because it's more stuff that you have to carry around, but it's definitely worth it. All right, have a look at our roof here. We got our solar panels here, and we're looking right at the corner now where we had the leak. What has happened? Well, I think at least this is what happened. I'm not 100% sure. But as you can see, there is like this plastic cover over the end of our Jayco here. Not all Jaycos have that, but this one's got this plastic cover, which also has the... Oh, there's a camera sticking out there. So it has this plastic cover here, and I would have thought that underneath the plastic cover there's a proper seal, because the roof goes around here, but the plastic cover was cracked right here. And what I'm using here is some roof sealing tape. It's called Eterna Bond, specifically made for Caravans. It's really good. And underneath this there was a big crack and a big gap here. And yeah, so I put some sealant over that sealed the crack out, and I think the water was running down here, seeping into this crack. And then on the inside it wasn't sealed enough here, even though it should have been. So water was coming in here and then seeping into that corner. The other place where it could have seeped into is just here at the corner. The old sealant might have been gotten a little bit brittle here. I couldn't detect any cracks or anything, but I just put some more sealant over it for now. And when I have more time, I will just remove this and put Eterna Bond over the whole length, because when you use this roof sealant tape, this Eterna Bond, you only have to do it once and never again. And I can cover this gap here, this edge basically, with Eterna Bond, and also this seam here and on the other side. This will all be covered with this roof sealant tape here, and we will never have any problems. But I think this is where the crack was. This plastic is a little bit crack prone, I would say, and that's why maybe it cracked, or maybe a tree hit it or something. I'm not so sure, but I think that's where the water came in. I was really worried initially that the water is coming in here by the solar panel brackets. This is the factory installed solar panel, and I don't really trust the factory people who install it. The other solar panels, they are installed myself, and I did not put any screws in. I just glued them down with 6 brackets on each, with 3 brackets on each side. Hold them down with glue, and I didn't have any problems. But the factory panel is basically screwed in with these brackets, and the screws, they were just sealed up with some sealant like this here, and I took off the sealant, and the screws, they looked a little bit rusty even. So I took the sealant off, and I have also this white sealant tape, white Eterna Bond, and I put that over here, and this will seal it. And I'm just hoping that the water is not coming in from behind. The other issue with the factory installed solar panel is that the cable entry into the Caravan is right underneath that solar panel. And if that is, if the sealant there is not good anymore, then the water can actually run underneath the solar panel, can pool here possibly, and then run through the cable entry into the roof. And that is a bit of a worry. I don't think it has happened so far, but I thought I could probably inspect that by taking off the solar panel. The solar panel has these screws here on the bracket. See, so I was thinking I can take these screws out from the panel on each side and just lift the panel off. But unfortunately that did not work, because those screws, I think they're stainless steel screws, and they're screwed into the aluminium bracket and aluminium solar panel frame, and I think they have galvanized and they're stuck. In order to get this panel off, I probably would have to drill out the screws first, and I wanted to avoid that. That's a bit of an issue, but if it leaks there, then I would have to drill out the whole screws. I wish they would have just used a, instead of those Phillips screws, they would have used a proper nut that you can just undo and where you get some hold. But with the Phillips screws, you can't really undo them, you can't get a grip properly on them when they're galvanized. So that's a bit of an issue, but I don't think it has leaked so far. A little while ago, I noticed a crack right here in the roof. So there was a bit of a cross crack. With my screwdriver, I drilled 2 tiny holes on each end of the cross, so it doesn't expand any further. If you drill a little hole at the end of a crack, it won't crack further. And then I put this sealant tape, the Eterna Bond, over it. So that's been a long time ago, and this will never need any more maintenance. That crack is properly sealed. I also already used the Eterna Bond on the hatch from our bathroom here. I took off the old sealant and I put Eterna Bond around there, and as you can see, that was already a year ago, so that still all looks good. And by using this Eterna Bond, I will probably never have to deal with any sealant there anymore. But yeah, everything that is factory sealed here on this Caravan looks a little bit dodgy. So there are like lots of screws here along the edge. They're all screwed in here. This kind of rail is screwed in from the top, and then they just put a blob of sealant on each of these screws. That's all from the factory like that. Looks like a good source of leaking for me too in the future, so that has to come off, and I'll have to put new sealant on there, or like the Eterna Bond, right? So that's what it looks like on the roof. Now the next issue Haitian discovered just the other day when we had the next big rain. So now Haitian was sitting there at her usual spot in the heavy rain, and suddenly you had a wet bum, didn't you? Yes. Suddenly she had a wet bum, and I was wondering if she accidentally took a little pee on our sofa. No. But she isn't quite that old yet. So the whole place here, bottom here, where her bum is normally, was soggy wet with water.
This part was wet from here And here in this area only.
There was a big, really wet patch. So we then inspected the window. You can see I've taken off the bottom frame already now. But right here, there was lots of water running down from that window.
Here, like this part.
It came out and then it ran down behind that sofa,
here.
which kind of just pulls back sort of thing, like that.
Through here, like water drops like here.
And it dropped through there, and then it got all soggy there on the bottom. That's how we noticed that.
The top part wasn't wet, only here.
Yeah.
Water collects.
So I then took off the frame, the bottom part of the inside window frame. I undid that, and yep, sure enough, the wood underneath there was all wet. And it is dry now, so it didn't cause any damage. Luckily, again, we noticed that early enough without the wood rotting away. It was a big issue, and we were a little bit... So this wood here, see, I drilled a few holes in there to check for wetness. And
Show this wet washing device.
yeah, by the way, here's a quick tip. So when you have problems with caravans and wetness, and even if you want to buy a caravan and you want to inspect the caravan, it's really good to buy one of those moisture sensor meters. So this is a really cheap one that I bought from Bunnings here in New Zealand. Just hold it. Yep, there we go. And so just wanted to show you what it looks like. So it's got an LCD display, and it's got like these two little probes here. So when we turn this on here, and when we stick that in the wood, we can get a moisture reading. So now we only got 13% moisture and a green light. So this is all dry now, but initially when we had the problem there, we had a reading of 60%. I think it just goes up to 60% max moisture. So we had a 60% reading moisture there. And yeah, so these things are pretty good to help you determine when there's any moisture. Now the only problem is you have to poke holes into the walls to check that. So it's probably a good idea to, after heavy rain, to have one of these moisture meters and check around windows. But you don't want to poke holes everywhere into your caravan. So what you could do is you could take off the frame like we did here, and then poke that in through the laminate. You can't just hold it against the laminate, right? Then you don't know if the wood is wet or not. You kind of have to poke it through the laminate. And then you get like some holes like these here, which you don't want to have in your caravan. But you can either do it like by taking off a frame and then do the window corners and poke it in there and then reuse these holes that you made. Or you just do it somewhere really inconspicuous, like if you don't take off the frame, you could still use one, like see this window still has that frame on here. So I could poke it underneath here, put some holes in there. No one will notice these holes, but I can still see what the moisture reading is there. That is a tip to check around your caravan after heavy rains with a moisture meter. Make sure there is no leaking around the windows and doors for that matter. Alright, now back to our problem here with the grab handle. So I suspect that water was running down the wall and the sealant on the grab handle wasn't good anymore, and it seeped in through the sides or through the top, started to run into the inside, started pooling here and starting to rot, have the wood rotten away. The other thing, it could also have come in through the door. One thing that Jayco might have forgotten is put some sealant around the door. There was only this mastic inside, and that was sort of starting to crack around here. Water could have run down and seeped in here and come out around here as well, possibly. So I just sealed that up again. I ran a bead of polyurethane sealant all around here. Still looks a little bit crap. I'm not really good at doing this, but I can clean that up and then it won't look too bad. I did the same with the window after we had the window leak. There was no extra sealant around the window. Usually when they put in that window frame, they have mastic inside here, and then the frame goes on, and then they just screw it on from the inside, and it sort of squeezes out a little bit. It's like a rubber kind of permanently soft sealant, but they did not put any extra sealant around the windows. So my suspicion is that the water come running down and seeped in here somewhere, and then it came running down the inside right here. Here's another issue we've been having with leakage. Now the trim of our wheel arcs here was not sealed at all. There was a gap between the wall here, and it was just this plastic trim. So we got sealant running along this weather strip here, and it stopped here. There was no sealant here, and then there's sealant here on this weather strip again. Water was coming down, seeping into this plastic, which wouldn't be a problem if it runs down again here on the bottom, right? But the problem with this plastic trim is that it's a U shape. So it goes like this, and on the inside it goes like a U. Let's have a look, if we can have a look. So it goes like a U here, this strip, and here's the actual plastic wheel arc, and that's sitting on the inside. The water could possibly seep out here, but if there's a lot of rain, the water actually comes towards the inside, and then it's sitting on the inside of the wheel arc. So that's another design mistake here. They didn't seal that up when they factory produced this Caravan. They could have probably sealed it up on the inside properly, so the water doesn't come through that U shape and then comes up onto that second step, right? But they didn't. There was no sealant. So I fixed it up by running this black sealant along here, and that stopped the water coming in there as well. It was the same issue on both wheel arcs, left and right. We had water underneath our kitchen sink sitting on that wheel arc on the inside, and underneath the sofa sitting on top of the wheel arc on the inside after heavy rain. So yeah, I don't know what these caravan manufacturers are thinking. Jayco, what are you thinking? I know lots of other, no, it's not a Jayco problem, guys. I know lots of other caravans, the English manufacturers, they have the same thing. We were looking at getting a, what was the name of that caravan we were looking? What is that English one, that Bailey's caravan, Haitian? What's that called? Range something? Rangefinder. Okay, yeah. So I know, for example, the Bailey's Rangefinder, which is a UK caravan. Bailey's is a UK company, and they make like an off-road caravan for the Australian and New Zealand market called the Rangefinder. And yeah, they have lots of problems with those wheel arc leaks as well. So it's not only Jayco, and I've talked to other caravan owners from other brands, other Australian brands, other English brands, and pretty much everyone who's had his caravan for a little while has had some leak issues. And I also have friends with motorhomes, expensive $200,000 motorhomes, and they have leak issues. They had to, one of my friends had his whole back wall replaced because there was water seeping in there and it started rotting the plywood. So yeah, it's just something you have to deal with. The good thing is, if you can do it yourself, do it yourself, because if you take it into a caravan shop, you can't really trust the workmanship. Some are really good, some might not be, and they might just put it all together and you get the same problem again. But if you do it yourself, you know at least that it's done properly, and if it's leaking again, at least you can just blame yourself for not doing the job properly. By the way, guys, if you're new here to our channel, welcome to Fishing Reminder. My name is Mark. Me and my wife, Haitian, we are traveling full-time. We've been on the road for about 10 years already. We used to have a bus, now we have a Jayco Caravan. We don't only stay in our caravan, we also do house sitting and overseas travel, but we spend a lot of time here in our caravan, so you could call it full-time on the road basically, right? So our channel is called Fishing Reminder. That means we do a lot of fishing content, fishing and camping content. So make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more of our stuff and support our channel a little bit. And also we run a fishing website called fishingreminder.com. It's an international fishing website and it predicts the best bite times, tide times, fishing weather and everything adjusted to your location and to your preferences wherever you are in the world. So by using fishingreminder.com for your fishing, you will also support our channel. It's free, and if you really want to support us, then you can upgrade to a premium account on Fishing Reminder, and for that we will not show you any advertisements anymore on the website, and you get unlimited access to all our forecasts there. We also have an Android and an iPhone app. You can check that out. All the links are in the description below, so make sure to check that out. It's free, guys, and you will help and support our channel so we can make more content like this. Now, in order to fix these issues, I've been using a few different products. So for putting new sealants on, I usually use the Sikaflex 291. That's a marine polyurethane sealant, but this is really expensive. It's like $45 for one tube. So you can use that to seal around windows and doors and stuff like that. But I thought this time I'd try something a little bit less inexpensive. So I got this from Bunnings. It's called Flexi Seal Sallies. And it's also a polyurethane sealant. So it's pretty much the same stuff like Sikaflex. Maybe it dries a little bit slower, I'm not so sure, but it's also black, and I used that around the door and around the window and seemed to work okay. And that only costs, I think, $12 for a can. So pretty much same stuff, but you know, $12 instead of $45. Then I also bought this product here from Bunnings, $30, and it's a wood hardener. So it's specifically made for rotted wood, right? So after I scraped out the rotted plywood here on the grab handle, I just sprayed that over the course of 2 days, twice. Let it dry a little bit, spray it again, and that makes that rotted wood, or the edges of it at least, really hard. And I think it's got some product in here that stops the wood from rotting any further and developing this dry rot. And then afterwards you can then put in filler. So I got a pack of flexible wood filler. So I'm gonna put that in where the where this part is missing now. It's probably not quite enough, this tube, so I might just put it in to the parts where the actual screw go on the bottom to reinforce that area. And then I will fill out the rest with a bit Sika Boom. So that is just expandable foam. So I fill that out and then I make it all flat. And then I can basically put my grab handle back in. In order to put the grab handle back in, I ordered some mastic sealant. So this is strip sealing that you put around the grab handle first, then you push it in, and then afterwards I'm gonna put a bit of that Flexi Seal around it. But that's basically made for that purpose, and that's what they've been using quite heavily here on the Caravan for sealing the doors and windows and all this kind of stuff. And it's basically a white strip, and it stays flexible. So you can put that around a fixture like the grab handle, put that around it, push it in, screw it in, and then this it's like a rubber strip in between the wall and the grab handle that prevents the water from coming in. Yep, so I'm gonna put that on there and then put the grab handle back on, and then another bead of sealant around it just to double make sure. So this stuff is called a mastic sealant strip. So that's pretty much all the products I've got so far. I'm also using this Pro Seal cleaner here. That's a surface cleaner. You could probably also use just alcohol, rubbing alcohol, something like that, but you can use that after you clean up everything and scraped off the old sealant. Then you can use that, spray that on, wipe that off with a bit of paper towels, and then you got a clean surface for the new sealant to adhere to. So that's quite important to clean everything up properly before you put new sealant on there. So that's basically how I'm going to fix it. Oh, here, and this stuff here is called Eterna Bond. Eterna Bond tape. This stuff is really good. So if you have a caravan and you're dealing with leaks, or you want to reseal something, or you want to prevent leaks, getting a roll of this Eterna Bond is really good. It's like a roof sealant tape. So it's got like this kind of butyl, whatever you call it, rubber sealant on one side here. There's a plastic film over it. When you take it off, it's really sticky underneath, and it's pressure activated. So you just put that over seams, and then you just press it down really hard, and this stuff will never degrade. It's got that UV protective layer on top of it here. You get that in black and also in white. I've already used up most of my white. It's quite expensive, but Eterna Bond. I'll put the link in the description so you can see what it's called, Eterna Bond. But I highly recommend this stuff. I've been using that a lot on our bus previously, and we had to deal with lots of leaky issues from the manufacturer already. And after I fixed them up with this, we never had a problem again. So that is awesome stuff. Oh yeah, and when you start putting a sealant around the windows and stuff like that to avoid a mess, a little bit of masking tape is also quite good to have, so you don't make a mess with these sealants so much, because they're not easy to use. I've been trying to work with these caulking guns for a couple of years now, and I'm still messing up all the time, so masking tape helps a little bit. Well, the wood filler that I originally bought didn't really work, so I ended up with buying the ADOS Builder's Fill. That is a 2-compound mix. You mix that with the glue sort of thing on a cardboard, and then that dries a lot faster. So I filled out the gap here with this builder's glue, and that is for large gaps. The one that I bought before, that it was too soft. It didn't really fill out the gap, and it didn't dry. You can see I tried here on the edges a little bit. But yeah, the builder's fill is a lot better. So once that dries here, it's already setting. It'll be nice and hard, and will provide this replacement for that missing wood section. And I will have enough strength here to put in those screws, and yeah, this will not move anymore. It is not a huge deal, but it's something that you should be aware of when you embrace this sort of traveling life, if you want to buy a caravan. And it's something that just needs regular checking. You just need to stay on top of it. I would highly recommend that after every heavy rain, you check your caravan, and especially getting a moisture meter, and then check around windows and between door frames that there are no leaks in your caravan. Because if you are not onto it and you miss that, you let it go for too long, you have your caravan parked outside and you don't check it, you might run into big problems. There are lots of videos on YouTube where you can see what massive caravan damage looks like, and it's not nice. And to get it fixed, if your frame starts rotting, or you got big panel rots, then you can't do it yourself anymore, and then it's going to be really expensive. Could even end up being a write-off. So yeah, check that regularly. That is my advice. Well, on top of all the leak issues we have with our caravan, we also have a leak now on the tow vehicle, on our Ranger, which is really annoying. So I'll show you guys quickly. Man, there's just so much water at the moment. So I noticed lots of water pooling around here. I just took the footwell out. There's a rubber footwell, and there was always a puddle of water here. And the water just kept running out here on the bottom of that vent, the side vent. So up on inspection, I noticed that the water is running along the inside here, and it's coming down here. And then it's sort of channeling through this plastic, and it just keeps dripping down here. And yeah, it's quite a lot of water that's coming in there every time it rains. So my first thought is that the windscreen might be leaking, and the water comes in here and sort of enters towards the inside, runs down, comes out. My biggest nightmare though was that it might be from the roof racks. So I had my roof racks installed in Auckland, and they suggested that I have them installed properly by installing this bracket here. In order to install this bracket, so they had to drill in 3 holes, and then they had to put these rivets in here and rivet that bracket on here. So after that, this is then compatible with the Rhino rack, and you can put that proper Rhino bracket on there and screw it onto that bracket. So that's supposedly specifically made for Ford Rangers. I was really worried when I asked them to do that, because you know, a third party drilling holes into the roof and installing something like this, can you really trust? I have a big trust issue anyway if I don't do it myself. And so yeah, I was a bit worried, and it looks like the water's coming from there. So I was using the old hose to run water over it, and yeah, when that water runs over that bracket, I get the water coming out in the car. So it looks like I have to either completely remove the bracket by drilling out the rivets and then put a new sealant in, or I'm just going to try put some new roof sealant around the bracket and the rivets, and hopefully that will do the job, like one of this window sealant stuff, you know. But yeah, another leak, and caravanning nightmare continuing. Everything is leaking at the same time. The bathroom roof, the window, and the door grab handle, and now also the good old Ford Ranger. Everything is leaking after 2 years of use. Yeah, it's definitely the bracket. I was running a lot of water just before the bracket, and there's no water coming in through the wind screen. So yeah, you just can't trust anyone to do anything on your car. I really knew it, and I should have known better not to let anyone drill any holes in the roof. So I'm gonna just put some sealant around there, some window sealant, kind of polyurethane, and around all these rivets here and the corners, and that will hopefully seal it up. They only put like a little patch of soft sealant, rubber sealant underneath between the rivets and that bracket, so that's probably not enough. You would think that maybe when they do this kind of stuff, this job, that they would already put some extra sealant around here, but nope. That isn't pretty, but better than leaking, I suppose. Well, we got it all sealed up. Let's hope that this time around this will last forever. It's looking pretty good, much better than before. I think I will have to do it on all of them, the other 3 as well, because the guys who installed it did the similar job there. So it's just a matter of time until they start leaking. Well, I managed to fix the grab handle at the door, and hopefully that is now lasting for a while. So I stuck that in there with that mastic, and then I put a lot of sealant around it, which I need to clean up now. I'm not done it on the inside. I still need to fill that out. So yeah, if you go to Resin, you can get like these kind of cards here for free with all sorts of colors. They got tons of different white colors, and then you can hold it against your wall. Well, on the inside, of course, that's the outside now, and then you can see which one will be the most matching color. So yeah, I'm hoping that I can find a color for that and repaint the wall up by the bathroom so it doesn't look so crappy. And then I gotta correct something a little bit. When I told you guys that these guys screwed up with the roof racks and I had to reseal all that, well, my assumption or my accusation turned out to be wrong. I sealed it all up, and yesterday it was raining and I still had all the water in the front of the car here, so it wasn't coming from the roof rack after all. Unless the sealant I put on there is absolutely not holding, but I don't think so. So it can only come now from the windscreen, I suppose. The car is parked in a little bit of an angle forward here. And it wasn't even raining hard. It was only drizzling a little bit. And we got tons of water coming out the same spot. So, God damn it. I have to now probably get this windscreen resealed on the old Ford Ranger. That really sucks. It could be expensive. We won't be deterred by that. We're still going to be doing our camping and fishing adventures, so stay tuned for some more of those adventures. And actually, guys, I wanted to make, by popular request, I've been wanting to make a review of our Jayco Journey Outback Caravan. People seem to like this caravan, and we get asked quite a lot about our experience with this. So we're planning to do a review very soon. I'm going to show you everything about this caravan and why we chose that for our camping and fishing adventures. So now, if you have any particular questions about this caravan, let us know in the comments, and we'll try to then include the answers in our review video, guys. So yeah, stay tuned for that as well, and we'll see you soon.